All right, so we got a new union going on strike story here, and these are really my favorite stories to talk about because it gives us an opportunity to discuss the power of unions, the power of being willing to collectively organize with your fellow workers to extract concessions from the ownership class and actually improve your material conditions. This is the best way to go about doing it, and so I'm going to tell you about this IATSE union strike that they have just voted to approve. So the IATSE, which is an absolutely massive union, up to 60,000 members are in this union, and basically these are the people who make the entertainment that we consume on a daily basis, whether it's TV shows or it's movies, etc., whatever you stream. These are the people who are working behind the scenes to actually make this shit possible. So, if you're somebody who enjoys movies or TV or whatever the fuck, then be grateful to these people and support them in this strike. So, here's some of the details. By nearly unanimous margin, IATSE members in TV and film production vote to authorize a nationwide strike. So, Los Angeles, the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, which is what that stands for, announced today that 60,000 members who work in television and film production across the country have voted by a nearly unanimous margin to grant IATSE, is what I'm just going to call them from now on, is going to grant IATSE International President Matthew Loeb the authority to call a strike, and this is the first time in IATSE's 128-year history that members of the union have authorized a nationwide strike. So literally, first time in over a century that they are going to be going on strike in this way and actually making some demands. So they say, quote, "The members have spoken loud and clear," said Loeb. "This vote is about the quality of life as well as the health and safety of those who work in the film and television industry. Our people have basic human needs like time for meal breaks, adequate sleep, and a weekend. For those at the bottom of the pay scale, they deserve nothing less than a living wage." And so beginning on October 1st and concluding on October 3rd at 11:59 p.m., 60,000 IATSE members who work on film and television production received ballots and voted on whether to empower the international union's president to call the strike, and they did overwhelmingly. So overall voter turnout was 90%, which is in and of itself incredible that you had that amount of the members of this union actually show up to vote. And support for the strike authorization was more than 98% nationwide, more than 98% nationwide. Absolutely fantastic. And online voting was conducted by election management services company Honest Ballot. So listen, 98% strike. So they are all essentially in uniform about what exactly they want to see from this strike. So just to give you a perspective on exactly what their demands are, after months of negotiating successor contracts to the producer IATSE Basic Agreement and Theatrical and Television Motion Picture Area Standards Agreement, the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which represents major film and television production companies, announced it does not intend to make any counteroffer to their most recent proposal. So basically, they were putting forward proposals for contract adjustments, which they deserved, right? Because a lot of these contracts were basically formed before streaming took the kind of hold that it does over our entire entertainment sphere. And so they signed a lot of these contracts that are really unfair given how profitable these streaming services have turned into. And so they are making demands in these contracts, and a lot of these production companies didn't want to comply with those demands. And so that's exactly when you use your power in collective bargaining to go into a strike like this. And so throughout the bargaining process, the AMPTP has failed to work with us, that's the production companies, failed to work with us on addressing the most grievous problems in their workplaces, including excessively unsafe and harmful working hours, unlivable wages for the lowest paid crafts, consistent failure to provide reasonable rest during meal breaks between workdays and on the weekends, and workers on certain new media streaming projects get paid less, even on productions with budgets that rival or exceed those of traditionally released blockbusters. So they are getting screwed over top to bottom, and they continue saying that it is incomprehensible that the AMPTP, an ensemble that includes media megacorporations collectively worth trillions of dollars, claims that it cannot provide behind-the-scenes crews with basic human necessities like adequate sleep, meal breaks, and living wages. And worse, management does not appear to even recognize our core issues as problems that exist in the first place. So not only just not providing them with adequate material conditions to be able to sustain themselves, but on top of that, just denying that the problems exist, a slap in the face on top of everything else. And they continue saying that these issues are real for workers in our industry and change is long overdue. However, the explosion of streaming combined with the pandemic has elevated and aggravated working conditions, bringing 60,000 behind-the-scenes workers covered by these contracts to a breaking point. We risked our health and safety all year working through the pandemic to ensure that our business emerged intact. Now we cannot and will not accept a deal that leaves us with an unsustainable outcome. So This is absolutely fantastic. Okay, love to see this. Go and support this union as they are on strike in whatever capacity, whether it's just bringing attention to the issue. And this is why this particular strike is even better than any other normal strike of like factory workers or whatever it may be. Is because these people have a direct tie to Hollywood figures, right? So we have seen an explosion recently of many of these Hollywood figures who support these workers and want them to go out on strike and want them to fight for better conditions. And so when you have the entirety of all of these Hollywoods, whether it's virtue signaling or not, right, it's better to bring attentions to strikes like this. It's better to bring attention to unions basically acting in a collective way to demand better concessions, because even if it is annoying elitist Hollywood actors or whatever it may be coming to these people's defense, that brings attention to it to some of these normies who are not really concerned with how our economic structure in this country is made up. But as a socialist, I will recognize that them having this proximity to very famous people is an advantage that can be used, and we have seen it been used. And I've seen some of my favorite actors, including Danny DeVito has come out and spoken on behalf of these people, and a number of other actors as well. And when you get famous people who are basically joining in and bringing attention to this, it makes it all the more easier to actually get some of those concessions from management, because it's not just disenfranchised workers having to fight by themselves. So this is why that's a little bit different and better. Also, it's a 60,000 member union that voted 98% to do this. So you have nearly 60,000 people going on strike now, unless they are given, or their demands are basically met by these production companies. And so 60,000, that's a gigantic nationwide strike that is going to be taking place. And this is, as we are seeing, tons and tons of dozens of other strikes that are happening across the country right now. So you absolutely love to see it. And the lesson from this, as it always is with these strikes, is that when you have a union and when you have collectivized workers who are willing to come together as a collective unit and bargain essentially, or make demands from their owners, from the capitalist owners who run these companies, then you can actually extract concessions, and you don't have to beg, you don't have to plead, you don't have to go at it alone, and you can make some of the demands that they are making. So all power to these people. I hope that they get the exact contracts that they are looking for and hold out until they do. And yeah, this is why unions are so important. This is why collective action is so goddamn important.